I don't think the flow will, I mean, yeah, I mean, I just wanna make sure I get the revision number on this thing. So this is, I'm on revision, but this is.
Well, everybody, I think we got people joining in. We'll get started here in a couple minutes. So, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I think Jared will be here in a moment. Jeremy will be here. My name's Robert. I'm kind of just keeping the seat warm, but I think we'll have some other folks in here in just a moment. So, again, we will kind of get cranking here in just a moment.
It's not, I think, check out.
Yeah, feel free to put questions in the chat and Q&A. We'll have some smart folk take a look at it.
Well, we'll think about like, if you push to the repo, it's more meant for like this is a.
We'll probably get started here in just a couple seconds. If you have a question, feel free to put in the chat and Q&A, chat or Q&A. We'll start taking a look at it. We've got some folks on this side of the line. We've got a couple eyeballs. We've got some folks on your side of the line. So hopefully you've got questions. Hopefully we've got answers. One of those kind of things. All right. Well, I guess I'll go ahead and kind of start talking. If you were here yesterday, we talked a little bit about, which I think, well, at least someone was here. We talked about deleting columns from an Excel file. And it turns out the path of least resistance was to, I ended up speaking with the customer afterwards in case you wanted to follow up. I see more people from yesterday were joining. We ended up just kind of resolving it. You pre-submit questions, no problem at all. Check it right now. Thank you for letting me know. We ended up resolving it by using Jeremy's suggestion of just running a step to remove strip characters before we made the Excel file, so that row never got made. So lesson learned. Sometimes it's better to just, rather than trying to in post fix the Excel file, just fix it at its creation point. So, one of those things. I'll find your question here in a moment. Thank you for pre-submitting it. Reports. All right. Let's see here. Control F.
Don't shoot the messenger. I'm gonna say like, yeah, but I'm just.
So Helmet, I do see a question, but I think it's older. Let's see here. Because I remember us talking about this before. Does it have to do the flow execution extension, or is that an older question in there, Helmet? And I'll unmute you just because I do have one from you in my inbox, but I think it's an older one about flow execution extensions, unless that's a new iteration of it.
Yeah, so I was in here maybe like a week or two ago, and asked a question. I think it was similar, but maybe not quite the same. So I did submit a new question just yesterday. I think.
Did I send you in the
that's
chat?
the one. Yeah,
That's the new one?
That's the new one. Yes, sir.
Nice,
Yeah.
no problem at all. Yeah, sorry about that. I just remember seeing something similar.
No, I
the
know.
other day.
I
Yeah.
just get a lot of questions about data structures,
Yeah, me too. In a process, so the question is for everybody, in a process folder, I save an instance of my full execution extension data structure. Later, I add new data fields to my data structure to enable additional functionality. Are the old instances of the flow execution extension in my initial process folders unable to use the newly added fields? That is a good question. I don't think that they're unable to. How are you writing data to that structure? Are you using a user-defined type? Like or
Um,
create kind of step or like
so I guess I built this project a long time ago when I knew less about decisions. So
yeah,
typically what we do is we create this process folder, and then that is kind of like a living document. Our users go in there, and it shows them a form, and they make edits to that form, and then when they save it, I use the save step to save that data into that
yeah.
flow execution extension data structure. And it's been working just fine for quite a while now. I know that process folders aren't really the best thing to use when it comes to creating a living document that needs to be updated multiple times, over the course of a period of time. But now we've come to this situation where now they want to add an approval workflow. And so naturally, I need to add some data fields to, the original flow execution extension data structure. But I want to have a clear idea of whether or not that will basically, make the old instances of their data no longer functional with the new like functionalities that I intend to add, right? Because I think in some documentation I've seen where uh, that there is kind of that disconnect between data that is input into a data structure before, and then if you add fields, then it kind of just has to start from, you have to start again, kind of. I just wanted to see what y'all's input was and if I was wrong or right.
Hey Jeremy, while I'm restarting services, you got any insight on that? Let's see if I can get my services back up. I think I've been bouncing a lot of video files, so my computer's under stress here. Um, Jeremy, you got any insight on that while oh, there, maybe hopefully we're working now. Let's just build it out, man, and we'll see what we can. That's my
Yeah,
initial
sure.
thought
Yeah.
is
No,
just
that's
kind of
fine.
making a test and rocking through it. Um, again, I think I do think I need to restart services here because this is brutal. All right, this is 5 Mississippi. If it doesn't count, doesn't work, I'm going to restart my service.
No problem.
Restart. Yeah, my initial thought is that it shouldn't have any problem with, and you're wanting to go and add new data to those. So in the new fields on the flow execution extension, you are trying to add data to those old records, or are you going to just be
Yeah.
moving forward?
Effectively, yeah. So they have, 90 or so records that hold data inside of a flow execution extension data structure that is in a process folder. And we want to add this new functionality, and to do so, we have to add, X, Y, and Z new data fields to those existing data structures to enable the functionality, right? Um, and so they would really like to be able to keep all of their old data that as it is, right, and just have the new functionalities that I add on to it. But it's been my understanding at some times that that's not possible. Or that, if you create an FEE with an old instance of a data structure, and then you update that data structure, then those old FEEs inside the process folder don't have access to those new fields. Or
Yeah, I'm trying to start it.
oh,
My
you're
initial
good, you're good.
thought here is a couple capacities. One, well, my first very initial thought, and again, I'm not sure if it'll work until we test it, is you could run some type of rule, like say you wanted to populate all that data, all your old records, and do it in a way that's effective. So my initial thought is that you could perform some type of rule that says, hey, if the values in this field are null, well, I guess it wouldn't have written. Let's just test it because that's going to be the path of least resistance here.
Yeah.
because
And
it is kind of a
I've
nuanced
thought about
ask.
workarounds, right? Where you could, if you have an old data structure and then you have a new data structure, you take all the, you fetch all the old records and then you kind of like clone them into the new data structure. But it's a little extra work.
Man, my computer is melting as we speak here. I might just use an old iteration here, see if one of these online servers is working for us. This is much faster. All right, so we have an old flow execution extension. And let's say it's called, um, and we have 3 fields. Are any of these complex or are they all strings?
No, they're all the ones that we would be adding are not complex, but it does have some complex data structures in it already. So I think for experimentation purposes, we don't need to add anything too crazy.
No, yeah. All right, let's see here. I'm gonna ideally make this, compile this, put a record through it. And then try and add on to it and see what our options look like. So you're using like a create step, basically?
I'm actually using a setup process folder
What's
step.
that process folder?
Yeah. And that's where we create the instance of the FEE.
I do know this one's. Oh, it's about to be crazy loud here. Apologies. Let me mute for a moment. Picked a bad spot to sit today.
Oh, you're good.
Again, I'm still here. I'm sitting in a hot spot of volume, so I'm just muted. I'm just kind of setting it up.
Yeah, no problem.
So I did get a message in the chat saying that flow execution extension would not see the new fields because it's just saved data. You would need to resave the data to be able to save the new fields. And the person in the chat saying potentially use case entities if you want to create something like a living document, but I'm going to still try to rebuild it out. And again, apologies for the volume. It's like a cafeteria in here at this point. I might move.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah, sorry about that. All right. So I got my two records in there,
Yeah, and then
sorted by daytime. So let's go ahead and add some fields here now and see if we can get anywhere with it. So I'm trying to, like I said, I'm trying to kind of dive into
yeah,
see if
the only really way you can do that is
selective
through that
update.
view data names and page design. It'll show you the fields that are available in that data that's been saved. So like here we have field one. Okay, so it does have the new fields. It just has no value.
Yeah.
So then in practice, perhaps the fields will show up and they can be used even though the FEE was instantiated before those fields were added. That's kind of what I'm seeing here.
Yeah. I mean, my only thing that I'm trying to figure out is again someone maybe put in the chat, like I was initially thinking something along the lines of in a user defined type, um, some type of selective update. But I don't know if that's even going to be an option in the setup process folder. Potentially
So
without, go ahead.
and we only use this setup process folder, one time to do the creation, and then other than that, it's really just opening and closing and updating the FEE stuff. So I just wanted to make sure that if we added these extra fields um, that we'd be able to do it, even though the data structure was not created when those fields existed.
Right. It is seeing them. My initial thought was to do a rule. Hold on, I gotta move. Give me 1 second.
Oh, you're good.
Apologies. I'm like, I'll is there any chance you can hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you great.
Oh, great, cool. Sorry, it's like they put out food, and it's like a cafeteria right next to my desk. So,
No
uh,
problem.
cool. Let's get back to where we were. Let's share that again. I do believe I should have it up. Yeah, my initial thought, and I'll see if we can find a way to do it, and see if, and again, anybody, let's see in the chat. Let's see if VT filled in any gaps in here. Um, back to where we were. Apologies for everybody. Helmet. There we go. Cool. All right. So we're in that flow. We'll break the lock because I didn't think I added anything. I'm trying to think of a clean way to put that data in there without creating a duplicate record. Because you could perform some type of iteration like a rule and then say if these fields are null, iterate through them and then populate that data. But I'm trying to think of the way to populate that data.
Well, I mean, yeah. I just was hoping, I was trying to see if fundamentally it was gonna damage the data or corrupt the data or something like that to fundamentally add something to that data structure and then try and save data to those new fields. But but I guess from what you're telling me is it's possible.
Yeah, so it looks like that data was populating. I know that, like I said, someone in the chat who is an expert as well, has been doing this for many years, said something along the lines of switching over to case entity, but then that's a huge overhaul to add two
Yeah,
fields.
yeah.
So like I said, let's see if we can.
No, yeah, I wish I wasn't married to the process folder at all, but we are.
We are where we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's part of the game here, man.
So like one of the ways that we do this is we set up these process folders and then, we show them, form and they put in data and then that data gets saved to the flow execution FEE, right? And
Yeah.
then it's a user action that allows them to do that. So the user action, if I create an FEE or in a process folder and then I use a user action to then after the fact add the data, I think that should work.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see if there's like an edit potentially. These are comments. Let's go. Um,
You can like generate a form based off of the data structure, but I've not been able to like actually directly edit the data in here without doing it through like the query editor.
let's see if there's, let's just do a little search. Uh, because we're getting, all right, so we're getting a unique identifier out of this when we run this record.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't think this is actually going to help us, but I'm just kind of, because that's just going to update entity ID.
Mm,
So you could potentially run and update entities, get a rule, put in the entity ID that's in
yeah.
that process folder, and then update those values, and we can see if that'll populate. Let's try.
Yeah, I mean, as long as I can save data into those new fields, like that's all I need.
Yeah,
And it looks like it's being registered when it needs to be.
my brain is, there we go. So let's go into one of these. It's flow tracking ID. We're looking for some type of entity. The problem is that a flow execution extension is flow-based and it is a linear process, while case is data-driven process. I'm getting that in the chat as well from Mr.
Yeah,
D2.
and I guess that's one of the main reasons that I brought the question in the first place is because I understand that the process folder is supposed to be kind of a point A to point B kind of thing, and the way that we're using it is not that way. It's a little bit more of a living document. So
I'm gonna unmute just because we're trying to be collaborative here. VTI unmute you. Is there a way for me to get a entity ID from this folder, process folder? Or is that not because it's not a,
Can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you now, man.
Uh, yeah, so the entity ID would be a full token ID. That's where data is being stored, I guess. So that's why I'm not sure if you can pull that data and update that on the fly. Uh, so the problem is then this data that's being stored, it's kind of like think it's being stored in flow data structure or something like flow tracking data table.
In an FEE, yeah.
So it's not gonna be this type. It's gonna be somewhere in the process folder.
So we're fetching, but I don't see anything to just update. Helmet call before entity ID to update. Constant. Let's say field, new field 1.
Robert,
Yeah.
can you query flow extension data table?
Yeah, you'll have to help me with that one. Where should I go?
Query editor. And it's flow underscore extension underscore data.
Okay.
Yeah, can you select all and see if that data is somewhere in this table?
Yeah, you'll have to give me some more. I'm just really new to the query editor. What is it, a asterisk select all?
You can search it in the tables search, and on the right click, it will be generate select. Right click and generate select.
Generate all fields?
Generate select query. Yep. And delete your, just remove your flow extension data before select on top. Before select,
Yeah, okay.
yeah, just remove that. Try to run it. Nope, not in this table.
If you search the FEE specific name that you created for this, you can do the same thing. Maybe that's what you're looking for.
All right, don't even remember what I called it.
Uppercase helmet.
There it
Yep.
is. And then you can do the same. Select. Right, so interestingly, so it appends them to the end here. If I created a new record, I'd be able to add to the new field and stuff, but would I be able to update these original 2 records with these 2 fields? That's the question, really.
And Robert, you can pull that data, you can fetch these by, no, ID is the same as extension ID. So you can fetch by extension ID.
But then how would I write back to it? Like that's I think where we're just trying to how would we populate data in these 2 fields? Like say we wanted to add my name, my first and last name.
I've used the set property on object step before. So if you grab that ID for that first row, you can do a fetch step for that ID, and then you can do a set property on object right afterwards to set that last property to whatever you want it to be. So it's not like the CRUD action steps that get created for the FEE. But I assume it's doing kind of the same thing.
What's the name of the step you said?
Just do a fetch entity step first. Yep. And then you can search by extension. Yep. And then fetch criteria is what I normally do. Field name is going to be the ID. And then, okay, and then your input will be what you just copied.
Okay.
Yep. And then right after that, you'd add a step called set property on object. That guy. And then property path is going to be field, the name of the field that you added, just a constant. You can't select it from flow. I don't know why. So it'll be, I think it's new field 2 without the underscore though. It's whatever the field name is in the data structure. Object or target will be the output of the entity step, and the value will be whatever you want to write in there. And they'll have to be constant for some, or maybe not this one. Yep. And then
Something along those lines.
yeah, that's what I was doing there. I guess you'll have to not put a constant. I guess it requires an object. Sometimes I'll have to do like a create data step real quick. And also, if there are more pressing questions as well, like
No, this is all the questions we got, my man.
All right, sick.
Unless I'm missing it, but I don't think I am. Nope, just this is it. All right, create data on the results path. Sure. We're creating an object.
Just a string. It asks for an object, but it means like any string really. And then you can just put a constant input. Yeah. So then if this works, this should fetch the original. Maybe this is not done right. Sometimes it's hard to configure correctly.
Error assigning value, Robert string to new field.
Yeah, so it may not be possible. The only thing that
Can you go back and
add the
just view
underscore.
flow data? View flow data
Yeah, let me just
on
try
this
this
step.
one. Let me try one more thing here. Okay. View flow data on
On this step, yeah. Entity results. Let's get. Oh, it's capital new field.
say it again.
It's gonna be uppercase new.
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
New and field.
And I don't, does it
A
have the
space.
underscore?
No space.
No, okay. Yeah, okay.
A space?
Yeah. And field is capital.
Uppercase.
Like that?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
It's a useful step, but it's hard to get that configuration right. You have to go to the actual, yeah, right there.
No, can you remove the space? I think the space is.
Yeah, no space. Yep. There we go.
So after this step, you can just use save entity, and it should.
And then that should update.
So that did not save it though. So if I run that same query,
Well,
no, when you set value on property, it's just runtime. So you need to save entity.
oh, that's good to know.
what would I map in there though on the main-
Just save the first one.
Yeah, the
There's gonna be
entity
entity results
results.
first.
Yep.
let's go.
Yeah. So then if we query again now, it should have a value in there. I think you have to right click the folder. The main one, I think. There you go. If you go recent queries.
Nice. Okay, look at me. I'm learning today too. It's gotta be
That
this one, huh?
Yeah, yeah. And hit run.
There you go.
Okay, so it's possible.
And
Okay.
if you want, I can send this project to you.
No, I mean I get it. I get it. I appreciate you doing the work and doing the
Oh.
experiment for me.
I like, hey, it gives me a chance to learn too. I mean, I think,
Yeah.
like I said, VT is one of the sharper folk we have around, and he's a customer as well. I think has some experience inside decisions as well. But I'm glad to be learning.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate
yeah.
it.
So at least now we know it can be done. It's a little bit of a build out, but I don't think that's too brutal. I mean, considering you could
No,
probably iterate
I-
through.
Yeah, and I want to try and I just need to have an alternative available in case they have to keep their old stuff, because
Cool.
we kind of tend to build and then do another set of build and kind of enhance the first project. So, sometimes it's hard to tell if it's extensible or not.
Yeah, man.
Thank you.
Cool. No, thank you. Thank you for the question, man. I appreciate it because otherwise I'm just kind of
I get
spitballing doing
that.
improv.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. Cool. Anybody else got any other questions for me in the chat or in the QA? I think I cleared both. Cool. And you don't want me to export this, or you're all good. I guess it'll be on YouTube as well.
Yeah, I'm good. I got a good idea of what's going on and got my question answered. So thank you.
Cool. Happy to help, man. Happy to learn too. Thank you, VT. You're a beast. Appreciate you. If we don't have any other questions, I'm probably going to go ahead and end it because we got 40 minutes in. I'll gladly take another one if we got one, but I think we're gonna end up wrapping it up. Okay, so thank you guys very much. I'm not sure who's hosting tomorrow. Might be Jared, might be Jeremy, might be me. But we will be back tomorrow. So thank you guys again.